Okay, welcome back. In this video, we're going to start working on an exciting project. This is going to be the first lesson in a series of lessons where we're going to create our own space game using Python and Turtle graphics. Just to give you a quick look at what we're moving toward, we are going to have our Turtle graphics window. We will change the background to have this nice Milky Way space looking background. We'll have a ship that moves along the bottom that we can control with our left and right arrow keys to make it move back and forth. And then eventually we'll add things like a laser blast, which you can see there, and maybe either some enemies or asteroids or something that we can shoot at and destroy. In this particular video, we're going to take the first step and get our window set up with our background and our keyboard events to control our spaceship. So I'm going to switch over to Thonny, which is my editor that we've been using. And I just want to go ahead and set up the shell of our Turtle graphics program. We've kind of used a very similar template over and over again. So you want to start your program with import turtle. And then we want to set up our window. So we'll say win equals turtle.turtle. Win.title is going to be Space Blaster. This sets the title of our window when it opens. We're going to set up our window to have a dimension of 800 pixels wide by 600 pixels tall. So 800 by 600 window. And I need to save this. I'm going to save this in a folder that I've called Space Game, and I'm going to call this Space Game Step 1. Now that I've saved that, I can run it using my green icon here. And I can see it creates my window, and then I have a turtle here at the center. So for building a game, I want to kind of start to make it look a little more game-like. So I'd like to change the background to be, some kind of a space background or stars or something like that. So I have in my space game folder, I have these graphics. I have a bullet.gif, a laser.wave, a ship.gif, space-bg, and then of course this is my Thonny Python program here. So you need to have all of these assets here in your folder. You can download those. They are attached as links in the description of this video. We're going to start with this space-bg.gif. So if you need to pause the video, download that graphic, and then you can continue, and we will continue on customizing our background. So in Thonny, once you have all those files downloaded, I want to set my window background. So I do that by using win.bg pick, and then I'm going to pass the file name of my background graphic to this function. So that was space-bg.gif. And these files do need to be GIFs, at least to work with Turtle graphics. So let's save this and run it and see what happens. Well, nothing happened there. Made a small mistake here. This needs to be screen. So let's save that. And there you can see we have our window, and it now has a nice space-looking background set. So now let's see about creating our spaceship and how we can go about doing that. I'm going to just close this window out. What I want to do is I want to use the image that I had in my folder. I want to use this ship.gif, which is also in my space game folder, the same folder that my Python program is in. So to do that, I need to register that shape. So I'm going to say turtle dot register shape, and I'm going to say ship dot gif, and that registers that image with turtle graphics. I'm going to create a new turtle, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to create a variable called spaceship, and I'm going to say equals turtle dot turtle. And so spaceship is the name of a new turtle on my screen. And I'm going to say spaceship dot shape is ship dot gif. And I'll save that and run. And now you can see my ship is sitting in the middle of my screen. So if you need to pause the video and catch up on the code, certainly feel free to do that. Take this in small baby steps. Make sure you get each step working, and then that'll make the process of building out the game much easier than waiting to the end of the video and testing everything then. Okay, so we have our background, we have our ship sitting in the center of our screen. We want to move our ship down closer to the bottom of our screen. So we need to set the position of our ship. The first thing I want to do though is I want to do spaceship.pin up, because we don't really want any lines to be drawn as we move our ship around. We just want to change the position of our spaceship turtle. And now I'm going to set the position using set POS, and I want to set that to 0, which is my X value, to keep it centered horizontally. And I'm going to say minus 200 to move it down further toward the bottom of the screen. I'm also going to go ahead and set my spaceship.speed to 0 to make it go as fast as it can. We don't really want to have any lag there. And let's run this and see what happens. Okay, so we see our ship is now at the bottom of our screen, so we're making good progress here. Now, right now, I don't have any keyboard input. What I want to do next is I want to have my ship move left and right when I use the left arrow key and the right arrow key. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create some functions. I'm going to close that window out. And here at the top of our program, I'm going to define some new functions. I'm going to define a function called left. And for right now, I'm just going to say print left. And then I'm going to also have a function called right. And I'll say print right. Now these two functions, we need a way to tie them into the keyboard. And the way we do that is we're going to come back, make sure our indentation is back in line with our main program, and we're going to use a feature in Turtle Graphics to listen for keyboard events. So we're going to say turtle.listen, and then we're going to say turtle.onKey left, which is our function that it's going to call, and then say left. And so what this does is this registers our keyboard event so that Turtle Graphics can handle it. So this specifies the key from the keyboard that it's going to listen for, and when that key is pressed, it's going to run our left function. So this is the key, and this is the function that it's going to run when that event happens. Now I also want to do this for my right arrow key, and that will be this line of code. So I'll say turtle.onKey right, which matches my right function definition up here. And then this specifies the key that it is going to listen for. So if I run this, I should in my shell window, when I hit left and right, I hit my left key over and over, you can see that it prints left. When I hit my right key over and over, you see that it prints right. So we now have a way to run some Python code when I hit my left arrow key and my right arrow key. So I'm going to close this window out. Now what we need to do is we need to start animating our ship to move left and right. And what I want it to do is when I push the left arrow key down, it starts moving to the left, and it just keeps moving and moving and moving until it hits the left edge of the screen. If I hit right, it switches directions, and it keeps moving and moving and moving until it hits the right side of the screen. So one key press initiates the direction change. You don't necessarily have to hold the key down to keep it moving. So something we're going to do a little differently than what you may have seen in turtle graphics so far is we're going to actually control the movement of our turtle on a timed basis. So I'm going to create a variable to hold the number of pixels that I want to move my ship. I'm going to call this move ship by, and I'm going to set that equal to 0 initially. And I want to change the value of this variable in my keyboard function. So in my right and left function, instead of printing left and right, I want to change that variable to specify how much I want to move my ship by. To do that, I need to change this line, and instead I'm going to write global move ship by. And this global keyword allows us to use our variable from our main program. So you can see I had move ship by, and to be able to use that inside of my function, I need to use this global keyword to get access to it. And now I can say move ship by equals 3. Actually, I want to say -3 because if I'm moving left, I want to subtract off of the x-axis to make it move left. And I need to do the same thing for my right function and say global move ship by. And I'm going to set my variable to move ship by equals +3. And so now we've set a variable. And right now that's not going to do anything because I've just created a variable and I'm changing the value of that variable when the keyboard is pressed. I need to do something now called creating a game loop, which is a feature in pretty much all video games. And to do that, I'm going to use a new kind of loop called a while loop. I'm just going to say while true, which means the code inside of this loop is going to run forever. You may be familiar with the for loop, where we did for x in range or for y in range. But this loop just takes the keyword while and then a true or false condition, and it will run as long as that condition is true. So since I've passed true here, it means it's going to run forever. And I don't want it to run just as fast as it will go. I want to delay it a little bit. So we need to import a new module. Let's say import time. And this gives us a way to delay our loop a little bit. I'm going to say time.sleep 0.02. And so when it runs this loop, when it gets to the end here, it will delay about 0.02 of a second. I also need to do a couple more things here. For my window, just come back up here below where we set our BG pick. I'm going to set win.tracer 0. And what this does is it lets us take over control of when to draw the screen. When you're normally using turtle graphics, when you move your turtle around, every time you send a command to the turtle like left or right, it tries to draw that immediately. And we don't want that to happen because it causes our game to be glitchy or to jump or not be smooth in the motion. So we're actually going to draw our graphics, and then we're going to tell our window when we want it to be updated with all of the new positions of the turtles and various things on our screen. So now that I'm in my while loop, I will say when.update. So every time it comes into my while loop, it's going to update. And now I need to take care of changing the position of my spaceship. So remember, with turtle graphics, by default, our turtle is pointed to the right. And I'm going to just make sure of this by saying spaceship.set heading to 0, which means that it is pointed to the right. And after that, I want to move my ship. I'm going to say spaceship.forward. And I'm going to use my variable move ship by as part of my forward. Now you'll recall that when I hit my left and right keys, it runs these functions. So when my left function runs, it moves the ship by -3 along the x-axis. And when I use the right key, it runs my right function and is going to set move ship by to +3. So I can use just the forward method because if move ship by is negative, it will actually go in the opposite direction. So let's run this now and see what we've got. So I'm going to hit my right arrow key and it starts moving and it moves off screen. If I hit the left arrow key, it starts moving left and it will keep going and going and going, and it's going off screen. We don't really want it to go off screen, so we need to figure out a way to set some boundaries so it would stop when it hits the edge of our window and stays in the game playing field here. So let's close that out. So how do you think we might keep our ship from moving too far off the screen? Well, we need to use an if statement. And what we're going to do is we're going to check the X position of our spaceship. And we can get the X coordinate of it using spaceship.xcore. And we will just try a number here and say if X coordinate is larger than, say 50, then we're going to set our move ship by variable equal to 0. Elif our X coordinate is smaller than -50, we're going to set move ship by equal to 0. Let's save that and run it and see what happens. Well, it puts some constraints on our ship. When I'm hitting left and right, it does stop, but it restricted our movement way too much. So I probably need to set this to a much bigger number. I'm going to try -325, or actually not negative there. I'm going to say 325 up there and -325 here. So on this first if statement, make it larger than 325, and then on the second one, make it less than 325. So that should give us a bigger range of movement. So if you followed along with me, you should have your background set. You should be able to move your spaceship with your left and right arrow keys. If not, certainly feel free to rewind the video, catch the parts that you might have missed, pause where you need to follow along with the code. I'll just close this out here, and just a quick review. So remember, we had import turtle, import time. We defined our left function to handle our left key press event. We defined a function called right to handle our right key press. We used turtle.listen to start listening for events, and then we registered our keyboard events using the turtle.onKey function. This first parameter is the function that it's going to call, and then the second parameter is the name of the key from the keyboard that it's going to listen for. We set up our window here. We created our window, we set the title, we set the dimensions using this setup function, we set the background using bgpick, and the file name of our GIF that we set as the background. And remember, that needs to be in the same folder that you saved your Python program. We set win.tracer to 0. That allows us to take control of when our window redraws its graphics. And then we registered our ship graphic by using this register shape method. And then we created our ship turtle by setting spaceship equals to a new turtle. We changed the graphic for our turtle from the standard black triangle to our ship image using this shape method and passing it our ship.gif. And we raised our pen so that we wouldn't draw lines as our turtle moves everywhere. We set the position at the bottom of the screen, set the speed of our turtle to 0, which would basically make it move as fast as possible. That's probably not completely necessary since we're controlling the movement of our turtle in our while loop. We had a variable called moveShipBy that we use to specify how far our ship's going to move through each pass through our loop. And remember, when we hit left and right, we set moveShipBy to either -3 or +3. And then we have our while loop that runs forever, so while true. And each time through this loop, we update our screen with the new position of our ship. So we said spaceship, set heading, making sure it's pointing to the right, spaceship.forward, and then we move it by the number of pixels that is stored in our moveShipBy variable. And then we put some constraints on our playing field to keep our ship from going off the screen. We got the x coordinate of our ship, and if that was larger than 325, we stopped moving it by setting moveShipBy equal to 0. Otherwise, if it were moving to the left, we make sure that it did not get smaller than -325. If it is less than -325, then we set moveShipBy to 0 and it stops. We lastly in our loop call win.update. This redraws our turtle in all of its new positions. And we use this time.sleep to add a little bit of delay because the computer would run this so fast that our turtle would just move way too fast. So this turtle.sleep pauses the loop for a fraction of a second. In this case, it's 2/100ths of a second. And that gives us a nice animation speed. Thanks for following along. Hit subscribe and you will be notified as soon as I post the next step in this tutorial.